What's up, my wizards? Dev from SBMTG. We got decks and such today. A really cheap deck that can fit nearly anyone's budget, and we're going to have some upgrades in it for you. The base version of this deck will cost you just about $5 on TCG Player, low prices, you know. If you want to go the higher medium prices, you'll spend like 7 or 8, and even at your local game store, you know, at exorbitant prices sometimes, this will cost like $10. So really can fit any budget at the base level, and there's, like I said, a lot of upgrades. We can make this a $200 deck if we want, and it'll run really, really well that way. So let's check it out and see what we're doing. Well, you know from the title of the video already that we're playing retreats. We're playing Naya retreats, red, green, and white. We're playing all 3 retreats available to us in those colors. 4 copies of Retreat to Valakut, 4 copies of Retreat to Kazandu, that's just a hilarious word, and then 4 copies of Retreat to Aire. Retreat to Aire, the only white card that we're playing in the deck, but for a budget deck that's 3 colors, we only really want to splash that last color, you know, and 1 card is just fine, especially if it's this thing. Retreat to Aire is probably the best retreat in the format, either getting us a creature, which is really, really relevant, or giving all of our dudes +1/+1, and all of our guys already have, you know, landfall abilities that make them bigger. So just playing 1 land with a retreat out can make our dudes really, really big. Aire, or any of these retreats. Retreat to Kazandu gives counters. That's really good, you know. Our creatures get big and they stay big. Or we can keep up with more aggressive decks. The 2 life is sometimes moderately important. However, Retreat to Valakut, I think, is better than a lot of people give it credit for. It doesn't usually show up in these sort of retreats builds, you know. But just the power to negate a block for a turn can be really, really powerful. Or just make a creature really big, you know. If you have all 3 retreats out, then theoretically you can give your guys +1/+1, put a counter on a guy, and make a guy +2/+0 until end of turn. So it just gets really crazy, especially when all of your creatures, again, have landfall triggers already. So all 3 of these retreats work really well and work really well together. Once you stick even just 2 of them together, really crazy stuff starts happening. 16 creatures in this deck, and they're all landfall creatures, and I might as well give them to you all at the same time. 4 copies of Scythe Leopard, 4 copies of Snapping Gnarlid, 4 copies of McKindy Slide Runner, and then 4 copies of Valakut Predator. Valakut Predator is a fairly flexible slot, but it gets big really fast, and then the other creatures are pretty much what you'd expect to see. Slide Runner and, you know, Snapping Gnarlid are very similar. I do like Slide Runner's trample an awful lot, especially in this deck where we're giving out a lot of buffs once the retreats are set. And then Scythe Leopard, you know, bread and butter, tried and true, 1 drop with landfall. We're playing just 8 other spells in the deck, 4 copies of Swell of Growth, and then 4 copies of Explosive Vegetation here. Swell of Growth, I think, is a no-brainer, you know, obvious inclusion, especially in the budget build of this deck. Dropping a land and getting the +2/+2 can get super nasty, especially at instant speed, but mostly we're going to be using it offensively. But Explosive Vegetation, you know, that's a flexible slot too. You could just put in like Temur Battle Rage or Titan Strength or whatever you want to do. But I really like Explosive Vegetation as an option with all the retreats that we're playing. If we can get just, you know, 2 landfall triggers and we have a couple of retreats out, is crazy. 24 lands in the deck. This land base right here will cost you about $2 on TCG Player, but it could cost as much as $200 on TCG Player if you want to play all the good lands. And we would get to play a lot of fetch lands if you had the money, or if you already have the fetch lands. Those are really, really good in landfall. And Blighted Woodland is just freaking ridiculous. It's just all the landfall triggers, you know. But even just activating 1 Blighted Woodland is the same as doing an Explosive Vegetation. So with retreats out and a couple of landfall triggers, just a Blighted Woodland is insane. Here's our board, which arguably costs more than the main deck. It's like $4.50 low prices, $7 high prices for this. And it's pretty obvious, you know. 2 copies of Roast for bigger things, 4 copies of Fiery Impulse for smaller things, 3 copies of Outpost Siege, and just in case there's creature or decks that kill a lot of our guys. Or we want to go a little bit longer in the game, we're able to draw 2 cards a turn. That's really important. Effectively draw 2 cards a turn. Rending Volley is obviously, you know, Manus Rider, Hangerback Walker tokens, and a litany of other things that fly in the format. But those are the ones. Twin Bolt and Arc Lightning are both in there against aggro decks, and also so that we can target them and make this into more of a burn kind of thing. So I think all of those are pretty important to play. Here are your power rankings right here. A final score of 55, not bad when we're only paying like $5 on TCG Player. And even at your local game store, it'll cost you like $10 or less to build this thing, you know, on F&M, you know, when you go in. So that's not bad at all, you know. You can win a few packs. You just spend like $10, you know. You play all night and it'll be fun. Really not a bad deck, and a lot of upgrades available to it, which I will get to right now. The real way to make this deck is to make it as fast as possible and go underneath everything. Red Green Landfall has been given getting better showings in the format right now. And I think if you just add these cards, 4 copies of each, Atarka's Command, Temur Battle Rage, Titan Strength, and Become Immense. 4 copies of all of these. You cut all of the retreats and you cut the explosive vegetation. You leave the rest pretty much as it is. You could cut Valakut Predators for Monastery Swiss Spears, and you often see Abbot of Kirill keep in that deck too. The deck is really incredibly fast. Atarka's Command is one of the best cards in the entire format. And when you Temur Battle Rage and Become Immense, probably the best 2-card combo that we're playing in Standard at the moment. You know, 1 creature gets through and it's curtains for them pretty much every time. That's all I got for this one, either $5 or $200, depending on what you want to do and what creatures you want to play and the land base you want to employ. And a lot of the cards in it are going to be around for a long time, even after rotation that's coming up in April. A lot of these cards are going to be around, so this is a good investment, and it's a fun deck, and it's pretty fast, especially when you upgrade it to the sort of just a Atarka Red version, you know? What are we doing next time? Well, I saw a lot of support in the comments the other day for Mardu Allies. I'm willing to look into that if you're interested. I'm pretty interested in it. Noyandar Ascendancy combo coming up. Tony sent me a deck list for this the other day. We're fiddling around with it right now to see what works and what doesn't. I think that has a lot of potential. I know a lot of people are really excited about that combo. And then people want more modern decks. I'm thinking about doing budget Thundercats coming up here soon. That's a lot of decks. I'm Deb from SBMTG. If you enjoyed the content, sincerely hope you did. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. Really interested in how you feel about this and how you would upgrade it if it were up to you. Hit the thumbs up button. Helps us tremendously, and sub if you're new. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, my wizards.